Hello, I'm Johan Castell and you're watching Tech It Out. On the show today, we will take a deep dive into gaming. There are many different types of games, like sandbox, strategy, shooters, role-playing games, simulation, sports, puzzles, action-adventure, survival and horror, just to name a few. There are also many different ways to enjoy playing video games, like on a console, PC or just your phone. But just how big is the industry and how did it all begin?
Gaming is a huge part of our culture. Many of us grew up playing video games like Zelda, A Link to the Past, Super Mario World and Tetris. These legendary games are etched in our memories from childhood, of spending countless hours in front of a screen, much to the distress of our parents. Some of these classic games have stood the test of time and are popular even today, several decades after they were created. Do you know when the first video game came into being? The earliest known interactive electronic games were made in the early 1950s at various research institutions. They were similar to simple board games. The 1970s saw the release of the first commercially available video games, Computer Space and of course Pong. These arcade games dominated the market until the end of the decade, when Space Invaders brought new life to the industry. In the early 1980s, the gaming sector was booming. You may be surprised to hear that it was generating more annual gross revenue than both Hollywood films and pop music combined. In the 1990s, technology improved considerably. Arcade games were surpassed by console games as the largest sector of the global video game industry. In the decades that followed, the industry grew exponentially. In 2020, there were more than 2.7 billion gamers in the world. Today, the gaming industry often witnesses billion-dollar deals and acquisitions. It's a big money-making industry. Analysts predict that by 2025, the industry will generate more than $260 billion in revenue. It's safe to say that gaming is no child's play. Today, thousands of professional full-time gamers compete in esports leagues. For the youngsters who grow up surrounded by video games and interactive entertainment, the temptation to try their luck to become a professional gamer can be huge. But the industry also has a dark side. A few years ago, the World Health Organization recognized gaming disorder as a disease. The decision was slammed by industry representatives.
There was this very sensationalist research that was looking at, all the negative effects it might have, talking about aggressive content and how it might trigger violence in real life, whether people play excessively and get addicted to it, and whether it is as horrible as taking, real drugs. And I found that very wrong because it did not represent my experience. We observed people playing games in the lab and also under real life conditions. The main findings were that gaming is a normal part of the lives of the people. There is a certain group of gamers that has problems, right, with gaming. They really play excessively and their life is turning into a mess in a way.
Besides the pitfalls, the future of gaming looks bright. It's certainly action-packed.
The trends certainly are encouraging in the gaming industry. It's all the rage in India too. Last year, consulting firm KPMG described India as one of the world's fastest growing gaming markets. The country has 420 million casual online gamers, second only to China. To understand the gaming ecosystem in India, we visit one such company near New Delhi.
Nodwin Gaming is central to the ecosystem and promotion of gaming in South Asia. The company was established in 2015. It deals with intellectual properties, content production, talent management, sponsorships and media rights, and massive events that engage millions of players. Last year, it secured a $22.5 million investment from South Korean game developer Krafton. best known as the owner of PUBG and PUBG Mobile.
I have come to the headquarters of WION Gaming in Gurugram to meet one of the founders of this quickly growing esports company. Gautam.
Hey man.
Hello.
Hi. John.
Nice
to meet you, man.
So you're in charge of this entire operation here?
Yes. I'm the COO here at WION. I'm also co-founder, and we've been doing this for about 7 years now.
7 years, huh? So
we'll get to see the journey from the start.
Do you still have like any of the early builds that you've done here?
Yes, I have one of the builds that I actually personally did 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll show you that first. And then
is that still functional, or is it more like a museum piece?
We still use it time to time.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Light, camera, action. Pretty fitting name for it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like a garage band type of setup.
Yes, so this is one of our oldest studios and we've kept it. We were 7 people strong when we made this studio.
How many people work here now?
Yeah, there's more than 150 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many years ago?
7 years.
7 years?
7 years. We went from 7 people to
wild.
150. In our current office, we have this studio. And this basically showcases a very basic setup for a streamer or a content creator. And for all that he needs is a nice webcam, a good I/O card with a good headset, so he can interact with the audience, take the questions from the chat, and even his voice is clean and clear.
Yeah. So that a green in background and everything, and like change the backdrop and everything.
Yes.
And
so green helps. You can change the background to whatever color you want.
So then he'll be like just a little face in the corner over the game.
Yes.
In one screen. That's cool. Let me try it out.
Yeah, give it a shot.
I'm sure you have many other studios as well in here.
Yes, we do. And let me show you something else. Why don't you settle in here first?
Yeah, okay, all right. It's quite the setup here with 2 screens and everything. Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it gets better and better from here. You know, we have the best equipment here in-house. So this is how a bit more higher level content piece will look like, right? We have a nice setup. We have a big screen next to the person. He's able to talk and, communicate with the guests that he brings on the show, and it gives a talk showy type look and feel. And this is one of the examples of how a content creator can improve the overall quality of the content. And there's a lot of props here, very thematic, and it gives a proper clean look that a brand would like to align with.
Is that often like a way that they make money, is to also align with brands besides, say, getting income from the streaming itself?
Yes, absolutely. That so they have to. They can take brand sponsorship. They can do brand placements also on the physical set. There's a lot of opportunities here as a content creator to make more and more money. One could be from YouTube or Twitch. One could be from brands, and getting dollars per view as well. So opportunities are endless actually. It just really comes down to how entertaining you are or how good you are at your craft.
That's very interesting. If it's like you're the best, or if it's you're the most entertaining, that decides who makes it.
Yes. It's not always the best gamers who make the best entertainers. It's the people who know how to engage with their audience and how to entertain them and keep them hooked to your content are the ones that really make it out and do better than the rest. And this is just one of the examples of how the content creators are working at the moment. Next, I'll be showing you how content is produced for national television or the large studio shows and everything. So things just get better from here. So we can jump over to that side now.
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's head over to the next spot.
Yeah, see you there.
Sounds good. See you.
The small studios on the ground floor are just a few of many. In the basement, there are 2 more studios that can be customized for hosts to lead tournaments and championship finals. WION recently got their Battlegrounds Mobile India Master Series televised. The show got over 1 million impressions on the channel just on the first day of the tournament. The viewership numbers rival that of major sporting events around the world. A staggering number of people are watching this type of gaming content, leading the way for more esports broadcasting on television channels.
Your in-house studio.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between, say, gaming and esports?
You guys can play games at home, you can play games on your mobile, your consoles, or your computers, but that doesn't make every game into an esports. An esports is a game which has popularity, has competition, where a skill of a person to another person matters. If I'm faster, if I'm quicker, if I can make decisions better, that is the type of game that becomes an esports, and to become a true esports, it also needs to be popular. There needs to be some people following it, people watching it. So, like for example, games like Counter-Strike, we have BGMI in India, PUBG abroad. We have games like Dota 2, which have like $40 million prize monies. League of Legends, which is like the highest amount of people at a single place watching the game. And
How many viewers was this game getting?
They had filled stadium, basically, a full stadium, just physically present.
That's quite interesting, and I think that a lot of parents, they're thinking that, you know, your child should not be playing video games because they should be studying, because even if you become successful, then maybe your active amount of years playing would only go up until the year, until you're, say, 25 or 26 or 27, 28, because then you'll be outcompeted by somebody who's 18 or 20 who has faster, reflexes.
No, it's a valid point that you bring up, and it applies to normal sports as well as esports, right? Eventually, players get older, they retire. A very, very natural transition would be to become a coach, to become an analyst in gaming. You can become also shout commentator.
And it pays well
It does.
to be a popular content creator for video games.
The viewership, it pays, right? Because you get paid per view. If you're big enough, the platform would want you to stay and not go somewhere else. So even the platform pays as well. So,
but you also do big events. I mean, you organize big events for people to come together, not just online and for streaming, but also in person.
Absolutely, right? Yes. We one of our big key marquee property is DreamHack. It's the biggest LAN for gaming.
I recognize that. That's a Swedish. It started in Sweden, didn't it? Yes. I'm interested about the rise of mobile gaming, say, compared to consoles and PC. Would you say it's like 50-50 phones versus other forms of gaming? Is it that big, gaming on phones in India?
Oh, 50-50, I have to forget. That would be like 90-10.
Really?
Mobile.
Wow.
Yeah. India basically jumped over the whole PC gaming market. I'm not going to say that PC gaming market doesn't exist. I'm just saying the mobile is quite strong.
What have I learned today? Well, esports and gaming is not a fad that is going away anytime soon. It is a booming industry and is tipped to maintain its rapid growth. When looking at the numbers, the reach and the enthusiasm that youngsters bring to the space, it is clearer to me now than ever before.
Designer, developer, programmer, animator, artist, audio engineer, tester, or professional gamer. There are many different jobs available for people who want to be involved in the massive gaming industry. What's it like to work in this industry? We meet someone who was able to turn his passion for gaming into a career.
Vikram Kasanji has been in the design space for nearly 8 years now. He has been teaching game design and communication at Bell Academy for over 2 years. For this 39-year-old, gaming has been a lifelong passion, but it took him a while to finally start working in the gaming industry.
I actually entered this industry at 31 from scratch. I got an unpaid internship at Lakshya, and 3 months later they liked me enough to give me a full-time job, and that was just 2 years of crazy. I basically learned this industry on the job. And so then I went back to school for a year. I did a game design program and I came back and then I taught and I'm working and I'm very happy. If there's one thing you should 100% learn is you need to understand how to work as part of a group. Even with people you either do not like or do not get along with, you have to learn how to work with people because you are delivering a product, and at the end of the day, the thing that matters is the product. You're all working towards a common goal, and ultimately the only common logic, what are we making? What is the function of what we are making? And what is the best way to tell the story of that function to a user? The most important pitch any designer can practice for and get better at is pitching to your own colleagues in your own team.
Work hard, play harder. That seems to be the mantra for the gaming industry. But what is game design like in India compared to other parts of the world, and how is it funded?
Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Northern Europe, and Western Europe all have now a very long history of their style of game development, what their game design is, what their game culture is. And we are discovering that in India. And we also now have a small, local teams and studios who are doing well for themselves. There's some mobile-based studios based out of NCR, some based in Delhi, some based in Bangalore, Hyderabad. So we do have an Indian development scene that's slowly establishing itself. And it's not just local, it's foreign companies too. So the 4 biggest game development companies I know who are now well established in India for many years is Sega, Rockstar, Ubisoft and EA. So all 4 companies have local studios. Global companies have recognized that the Indian development talent is good enough to stay and invest in and build and continue growing. So I'm actually hopeful for the rest of this decade. I believe that by the end of this decade, what is game development in India and what is game design in India, what is game culture in India will grow. And I think one of the driving factors for that is simple. It's quite frankly simple. It's the mobile phone. For local studios, especially in mobile, in fact, it's almost entirely mobile development in India. It's still mostly driven by advertising. Because one of the realities that Indian development studios have to face is that if they're building a game, they're primarily building it for foreign audience.
So, for those of you who see a future for yourself in the gaming sector, are you wondering how to get started? To find out more about what one must learn to be industry ready, we visit an international institute that is making its presence felt in India.
Intuit Lab is a French institute of design co-founded by designers and academicians. They claim to have a dual academic and professional approach that breeds creative practitioners. The institute already has branches in Mumbai and Kolkata, and recently a new one has opened in New Delhi. To find out more about the game design program, we meet the admissions manager at the school.
As long as you have a flair for design, you have a passion for design, you're willing to learn, you're willing to work hard, that's all we are looking for. So for a course like this, we charge anywhere between 20 to 24 lakhs, including taxes. And the salary packages that you expect the beginner's level should be anywhere between 38 to 46,000.
Like in many other creative arts, a lot of people who choose to study game design dream of making their own game. Intuit Lab is offering students a chance to get funding to realize that dream.
We've made a little bit of a Shark Tank-like setup where they work on their own product. We obviously mentor them throughout, and we bring in angel investors from outside for them to pitch in their product. So what happens is they are not just exposed to the design bit of it, they're exposed to the business bit of it. What they learn in the process is they learn how to budget, they learn how to run a company, they learn how to allocate funds, they just know how to operate a business on their own and what it takes to be an individual entrepreneur out there. So we do make them pitch in front of the class because that's how ideas get exchanged. You get exposed to something that you may not have known about, you get exposed to another perspective. So that is also very important. But yes, we do encourage students to have a lot of one-on-one time with us, to our faculty.
But where is the industry headed? How will these future game designers utilize their skills?
Game industry is going to be the next big thing happening in the few years to come, because not only is it like the biggest entertainment that's ever going to take place, I see it as overtaking the film industry, because first of all, gaming is it goes across the age group, starting with, of course, youngsters and the youth, but you also see that there's a big gap for people who may be a little older and they need to also be entertained by something called gaming. So I think there's going to be a very big opportunity over there. The game industry is not only going to entertain, but I see a very, very huge area where it could be used for training, education, and to be applied in various areas such as businesses, strategy building, could be for medical health, and many more businesses.
Although young men make up a large share of people who play video games, the fact is that video games can be and should be played and mastered by nearly everyone. Like other industries, gaming too needs to become a more inclusive and diverse industry. Let's see the people who are trying to make that happen.
Five countries participated in the first all-women esports event at the South Asian Games in Hanoi, Vietnam this year. The Vietnamese team displayed their skill while tackling League of Legends Wild Rift on smartphones.
People would often say that games are for the boys, that all tournaments are for the men. This is the first time there is an esport tournament for women at the SEA Games. I feel proud of myself. I want to show others that women can do whatever the men can.
While some men's teams have represented the country internationally, for women it's much harder to make a mark.
We see at the moment that not many esports organizations invest in female teams. Without investment, female gamers will not have the opportunity to pursue a professional career, and they can't spend all of their time on the game, so they can't develop to the same level as men.
How about gaming for the disabled? Accessibility for deaf players is increasingly getting more attention from developers. And for American gamer Chris Robinson, this is a welcome change.
Normally, it's mostly sound reliant for a scary game. Like you have to hear the the sound effects and stuff like that. I can't hear that. So with the best, I can feel it. So I was able to feel something that I can't hear in the game, and it really helps a lot.
There are an estimated 400 million gamers with disabilities in the world. And technology like this goes a long way in making the industry more inclusive and accessible.
If you do not make your game accessible to 20 or 25% of your audience, it's obviously, not a very sound commercial decision.
The gaming industry must reflect the growing diversity of its demographics.
We have countries in Northern Europe with Viking stories, in Asia, in South Korea, in Japan with samurai stories. Thanks to video games, people know these stories. So I thought that with all the cultural richness of Africa, the 54 countries, and the folklore, why don't I use the tales to tell the story of Africa?
Inspired by various African heroes, 27-year-old Teddy Kosako hopes to promote the cultural richness of Africa through video games from his home studio in Toulouse, France.
There you have it. Gaming is fun. Gaming is also addictive. If you are a parent to a minor, keep a close eye on your child's gaming activity. And if you are a gamer, remember to be responsible. To use a catchphrase from Pokemon, it's super effective. Goodbye.